Hello, and welcome to our channel, where we embark on fascinating journeys through the world of historical coins. Every coin has a story to tell, and today, we have a particularly intriguing one, the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin. This coin is more than just a piece of currency. It is a reflection of the political, economic, and cultural shifts that shaped Rhodesia during a transformative period in its history. Coins like these are more than just remnants of monetary transactions. They are silent witnesses to a nation's aspirations, struggles, and identity. Throughout history, coins have served not only as a means of trade but also as symbols of sovereignty and power. The imagery and inscriptions they carry often reveal the values and priorities of the time. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin stands out as a particularly interesting piece, given that it was issued during a critical moment in Rhodesia's history, right before the country unilaterally declared independence from Britain. By examining this coin closely, we can gain deeper insights into the socio-political landscape of the era, as well as the broader economic conditions that shaped it. As collectors, historians, and enthusiasts, we often come across coins that serve as tangible links to the past, allowing us to hold history in our hands. This coin is no exception. It represents the final years of Rhodesia under British influence and the beginnings of an independent economic system. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist, a history enthusiast, or simply someone curious about the legacy of old currencies, this documentary will take you deep into the origins, design, significance, and long-lasting impact of the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin. So, sit back, relax, and let's uncover the story of this remarkable piece of history. To truly understand the significance of the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin, we must first explore the history of the land it was minted in, Rhodesia. Named after British imperialist Cecil Rhodes, Rhodesia was a British colony that played a crucial role in southern Africa's colonial history. The territory that would become Rhodesia was first colonized in the late 19th century under the control of the British South Africa Company, which was led by Rhodes himself. His vision was to expand British influence across Africa, establishing settlements and exploiting the region's vast mineral resources. Initially, Rhodesia was part of the British South Africa Company's territories, and later, it was divided into Northern Rhodesia, present-day Zambia, and Southern Rhodesia, present-day Zimbabwe. Southern Rhodesia, which was considered the more economically developed of the two, became a self-governing British colony in 1923. This arrangement allowed the white minority government to establish its own political and economic structures, shaping the country's financial system and currency. For many years, Rhodesia relied on British and South African currencies, with coins and banknotes bearing the imagery of the British monarch. This reflected the region's deep economic ties with Britain and South Africa, as well as its status as a British-controlled territory. However, as the push for local economic identity grew, so did the need for a distinct Rhodesian currency. By the mid-20th century, many former British colonies were transitioning away from the British pound and introducing their own monetary systems, signaling a shift toward economic self-sufficiency. In 1953, Southern Rhodesia, along with Northern Rhodesia and Nyasaland, present-day Malawi, formed the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland. This political and economic union aimed to strengthen British control in the region while fostering economic growth through shared resources and infrastructure. However, the federation was fraught with internal tensions, as the African populations in Northern Rhodesia and Nyasaland increasingly demanded self-rule and political representation. These pressures ultimately led to the dissolution of the federation in 1963, marking a turning point for Rhodesia as it sought to establish itself as an independent entity with its own monetary system. By 1964, Rhodesia introduced a new decimal currency to replace the old British-style system. This move was part of a broader effort to modernize the economy and distinguish Rhodesian financial policies from those of the past. Decimalization made transactions more straightforward, eliminating the complexities of the previous system, which was based on pounds, shillings, and pence. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin was among the first issues of this new currency, symbolizing the country's transition from a British-dominated monetary system to one that reflected its unique identity. However, this transition was soon overshadowed by political developments. In 1965, just a year after this coin was minted, Rhodesia's white minority government, led by Prime Minister Ian Smith, issued a unilateral Declaration of Independence, UDI, from Britain. This act was not recognized by the international community and led to economic sanctions and political isolation. The Rhodesian dollar, introduced as part of the decimalization process, remained in circulation but faced numerous challenges due to the country's economic restrictions. This makes the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin particularly interesting, as it represents the last phase of Rhodesia's monetary system under official British rule. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin is a fascinating piece of numismatic art, embodying both colonial influence and local heritage. Its design tells a story of Rhodesia's connection to the British monarchy while also highlighting symbols of national pride and economic ambition. On the obverse, front side, of the coin, we find a right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This depiction of the Queen was a standard feature on many Commonwealth coins at the time, signifying Rhodesia's continued ties to the British Crown. However, this coin was among the last to feature her portrait before Rhodesia's Unilateral Declaration of Independence, UDI, in 1965, making it historically significant. The presence of the Queen's likeness reflected the constitutional relationship between Rhodesia and Britain, but it also became a point of contention in the years that followed, as the country sought to establish its own identity. The reverse, backside, of the coin showcases the Rhodesian coat of arms. This emblem features a shield adorned with a pick, symbolizing the country's mining industry, which was a major pillar of its economy. Beneath the pick, the flame lily, a national flower of Rhodesia, adds a touch of natural heritage, representing the beauty and resilience of the land. The year 1964 is prominently displayed below the coat of arms, marking its mintage, alongside the denomination 10C. The use of the coat of arms in the design was a way of reinforcing national pride and economic self-sufficiency, even as the country remained tied to British governance at the time. In terms of metal composition and size, the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin was made from cupronickel, an alloy of copper and nickel. This material was commonly used for mid-20th century coinage due to its durability and resistance to corrosion. Cupronickel provided a balance between affordability and longevity, ensuring that coins could withstand circulation without excessive wear. The coin also featured a reeded edge, a detail that added to its aesthetic appeal while serving a practical purpose, making counterfeiting more difficult. To fully understand the context in which the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin was minted, we must examine the state of Zimbabwe, then called Southern Rhodesia, during this period. The early 1960s were a time of major political, economic, and social change in the region. Although still under British influence, Rhodesia was increasingly asserting its autonomy, leading to tensions that would soon culminate in the Unilateral Declaration of Independence in 1965. Economically, Rhodesia was one of the most developed territories in Africa. The country had a strong agricultural sector, particularly in tobacco farming, which was a major export. Mining was also a key industry, with the extraction of gold, copper, and other minerals contributing significantly to the economy. Infrastructure, including railways and industrial facilities, was relatively advanced compared to many other African nations at the time. However, the economic prosperity of Rhodesia was largely built on racial inequality. The white minority government controlled the economy and political system, leaving the black majority with limited access to land ownership, economic opportunities, and political rights. This disparity led to growing unrest and calls for independence and majority rule, movements that would eventually shape Zimbabwe's future. In today's context, Zimbabwe's economic landscape has changed dramatically. Following independence in 1980, the country went through various economic challenges, including hyperinflation and political instability. However, Zimbabwe remains an important country in southern Africa, with its history deeply intertwined with its colonial past. The legacy of coins like the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent piece continues to serve as a reminder of this complex history. Coins have always played a crucial role in colonial economies, serving as tools for economic control and political influence. In the case of Rhodesia, British colonial authorities used currency to integrate the region into the global trade network while maintaining financial dependence on the British system. By issuing standardized coinage that bore the likeness of the British monarch, colonial rulers reinforced their authority and ensured that trade operated within their prescribed economic framework. The introduction of the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin was part of a broader shift toward economic self-sufficiency, but it was still influenced by the colonial legacy. Even after transitioning to its own decimalized system, Rhodesia remained tied to British financial structures, with its currency pegged to the British pound. This highlights the complex relationship between economic autonomy and continued colonial influence in many African nations during the mid-20th century. Coins also served as everyday reminders of colonial rule. Unlike paper money, which could be issued and withdrawn with relative ease, coins had longevity, circulating for decades and bearing the marks of their issuers. This meant that even as political tides shifted, older colonial coins often remained in circulation, continuing to represent the past while economies tried to move forward. The production of the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin involved a meticulous minting process that combined metallurgy, precision engineering, and design artistry. The coin was struck from cupronickel, an alloy of copper and nickel known for its durability and resistance to corrosion. This choice of material ensured that the coin could withstand heavy circulation without significant degradation. The minting process began with the creation of blank planchets, small, flat metal discs cut from large sheets of cupronickel. These blanks were then annealed, a heating process that softened the metal to make it easier to strike. After cooling, the planchets were cleaned and prepared for striking. A hydraulic press stamped each coin with high pressure, imprinting the obverse and reverse designs in a single strike. The design featured a detailed portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, while the reverse bore the Rhodesian coat of arms. The striking process ensured that all intricate details were transferred onto the metal surface with clarity and precision. After striking, the coins were inspected for quality control, with defective pieces being melted down and reused. The finished coins were then packaged and distributed for circulation, becoming part of everyday financial transactions across Rhodesia. As we move further into the digital age, the role of physical coins in everyday transactions is rapidly diminishing. With the rise of digital payment methods, contactless transactions, and cryptocurrencies, the need for physical currency has decreased significantly. Many countries are already phasing out lower denomination coins, and some have even begun exploring central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, as potential replacements for traditional money. However, while digital transactions offer convenience, physical coins remain valuable in ways that go beyond their monetary function. Coins are historical artifacts, preserving the economic, political, and artistic heritage of civilizations. As such, numismatics, both as a hobby and an academic discipline, will continue to thrive, even if physical coins eventually disappear from daily use. For collectors, the diminishing use of physical currency presents both challenges and opportunities. On one hand, fewer coins in circulation mean that acquiring historical pieces will become increasingly difficult. On the other hand, this also enhances the rarity and value of certain coins, making them more desirable among collectors. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin is a prime example of a historical artifact that holds significance beyond its original purpose, ensuring that it remains a treasured piece for numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. In 1965, just a year after the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin was issued, Rhodesia unilaterally declared independence from Britain. This act, known as the Unilateral Declaration of Independence, UDI, had significant consequences for the country's monetary system. Britain and the international community refused to recognize Rhodesia's independence, leading to economic sanctions that severely restricted trade and financial transactions. The immediate impact was a scarcity of foreign currency, which put immense pressure on Rhodesia's monetary system. The country had to rely on its own financial resources, as it was cut off from international banking networks. To maintain economic stability, the Rhodesian government introduced strict currency controls, ensuring that local industries and trade could continue despite external restrictions. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin, and other coins of that era, remained in circulation, but their purchasing power was affected by rising inflation and economic isolation. With the political landscape changing over the following decades, Rhodesia eventually transitioned to Zimbabwe in 1980 after years of conflict and negotiations. This transformation brought about a new national identity, which included the adoption of a new currency, the Zimbabwean dollar. Initially, the Zimbabwean dollar was valued at parity with the Rhodesian dollar, but economic challenges, including mismanagement and hyperinflation, would later cause significant depreciation. The transition from Rhodesian currency to Zimbabwean currency marked the end of an era for coins like the 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent piece. While they continued to be used for a short period, they were eventually phased out and replaced by newly designed Zimbabwean coins and banknotes, reflecting the country's new identity. The imposition of economic sanctions on Rhodesia following its 1965 UDI had profound effects on its financial stability. These sanctions were intended to pressure the government into transitioning to majority rule, but instead, they led to a self-sufficient economy that operated in defiance of international restrictions. One of the biggest challenges was the limitation on importing essential goods and raw materials. This forced Rhodesia to develop domestic industries, leading to increased local production in sectors such as agriculture and manufacturing. However, the lack of access to international financial markets made it difficult to maintain currency stability. Inflation rose, and the purchasing power of Rhodesian currency, including coins like the 1964 10-cent piece, gradually declined. Despite these challenges, the Rhodesian government managed to sustain its economy for over a decade through resourcefulness and strategic trade partnerships with sympathetic nations. The resilience of its monetary system during this period highlights the crucial role that currency plays in national survival under economic adversity. The 1964 Rhodesian 10-cent coin is more than just a piece of metal, it is a tangible link to the past, offering insights into the economic, political, and cultural history of Rhodesia. From its design to its role in the transition from colonial rule to economic independence, this coin tells a fascinating story that remains relevant today. As we hold these coins in our hands, we are reminded of the many ways in which currency shapes our understanding of history. Whether you are a collector, a historian, or simply someone who appreciates the artistry and significance of old coins, the study of numismatics allows us to connect with the past in ways that few other artifacts can. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth discussions on historical coins. Your support helps keep this passion for numismatics alive, and I look forward to sharing more incredible stories with you in the future.